Nchocho, thanks very much for talking to us, TP. And great to catch up with you, having hopefully some good news to tell us about the MOU that you have signed with the Bank of China as the IDC. What does it entail?
Thank you very much, Pratim. Pleasure to be here, and thank you for the opportunity. Let's start this way. The Industrial Development Corporation and I believe other South African state institutions are constantly seeking to enhance and deepen their cooperation with counterpart institutions in China, in Brazil, in India, and in Russia as well. We have a deep working relationship with various institutions in China, whether it's the China Development Bank or the China Development Fund. They call it the China Africa Development Fund. So the Bank of China is one of those institutions. It was the largest state-owned bank in China, and it provides a lot of capital support for various countries around the world. So in that context, what are we looking at? As we all know, our mandate as the Industrial Development Corporation is around promoting investment, industrialization in the sectors of manufacturing, in mining, in energy, in infrastructure, in agro-processing, amongst others. So we have had conversations with the Bank of China, and we have a principal agreement that says over the next 5 years, they have actually made a commitment to support the IDC to the extent of at least 10 billion rand over the next 5 years. And what we were signing here today as the MOU will give rise, and we are already discussing the terms of an initial 1.5 billion rand funding facility from the Bank of China. 1.5 billion rand. It will be denominated in rands. It's not a foreign currency denominated facility. We are lucky in a sense that the Bank of China has a South African domicile. They have a balance sheet. They have a ZAR, South African rand deposits, and therefore they are able to advance funding to us in ZAR. So it's a capital mobilization MOU with a targeted investment in these sectors that I have talked about.
But this facility that's being extended to yourselves, and I suppose, is it something that's going to work on a rand-for-rand basis, or you are receiving the money from the Bank of China and it goes onto your books as loans, or are you going to match them rand for rand?
It is a loan that comes onto our balance sheet, which we will then intermediate and lend to various projects in South Africa and across the African continent per our mandate. So the IDC on an annual basis has a target of advancing into the economy no less than 20 billion rand on a year-on-year basis. And the way our funding plan works is that we raise in debt form approximately half of that. 10 billion rand is our annual borrowing program. So this 1.5 billion rand that we are raising now will go towards the debt raising program that I'm referring to. That is the one thing. However, the Bank of China is also a direct lender to projects, particularly in the rest of the continent, in Angola, in Namibia, in Zambia, in Mozambique, in Tanzania, the various other countries, and up north, be it in Ghana. So we foresee a situation where our funding as well will and can sit side by side with them, where we are both direct lenders into projects, particularly when we do dollar-denominated financing outside South Africa.
And is this facility going to be restricted to any particular businesses? I understand the sectors, but
Yes.
would it have to be companies that are from China or operate within the BRICS mandate, or it doesn't matter, it's open to anyone? I know, I mean, within the IDC, you've set some funding aside for black industrialists, for instance. Is it going to be restricted in any way?
No, this will be a general purpose facility which will go into capital projects across the board. So South African companies that are either starting up and or that are growing and expanding and they are looking for growth capital would qualify, as you say, in those sectors that we discussed earlier on. Chinese companies either coming into South Africa in order to set up shop or that are already here and are seeking maybe to expand or modernize their operations will qualify. Businesses from any other country, for instance, really the basic criteria would be, is it within the sectors that we operate in? Is it to the scale that will lead to employment creation, expanding industrial capacity? Will it be within the geographic areas that we operate in? As I said, we operate in South Africa, but we also have a mandate to deploy no more than 30% of our capital in the rest of the continent. So any other geographies on the African continent within the mandate that we operate in.
Let's look at what you've been able to achieve so far in the context of the Industrial Development Corporation. I mean, the loans advanced over the past year, for instance, are less than what you typically would have extended to industrialists and other entrepreneurs. So what value is this going to add if you had a shortfall this past year?
Yeah, we will be announcing the results of the IDC in September, and we can talk in detail when we do that results announcement. But yeah, the numbers are as follows. Actually, our average lending prior to COVID was somewhere in the region of about 12-13 billion rand year on year. 12-13 billion rand year on year on average prior to COVID. That number dipped substantially during the COVID years, 2020 and 2021, and where we averaged about 8 billion rand, okay? So the level of advances that we have achieved this past financial year, which as I indicated is just over 18 billion rand, is substantially higher than our historical average. And secondly, a large quantum increase from the COVID years. So we are on a significant recovery post-COVID. So it's a great achievement.
I'm looking at the economy, the growth being very, very small than what was projected. Where do you see opportunities, even from the IDC point of view, or at least let's help the industrialists and entrepreneurs, that which sectors do you think are likely to benefit much more from your loan book?
Yeah, let's put it this way. The equation of growing the economy is complicated. What I mean is, the IDC is an investor in the real economy, in manufacturing, in mining, in tourism, in agriculture. So production type finance.
Yeah.
However, for the real economy to function well, as you know, Pratim, you need logistics infrastructure, you need energy, and you need water. So you need infrastructure to make the economy function. And this is where I think, in a substantial way, all of us agree there is significant constraints on the South African economy. Mining houses have reported, and I'm sure you are aware, that many of them are unable to increase their output. Why? Because of the constraints that are in the logistics system. And we know that Portia and the team are doing the best that they can.
Meaning Transnet, right?
Transnet.
Yeah.
They're doing the best that they can in order to address these problems. I'm very much aware because me and her talk all the time. And these problems are not easy to solve overnight. We all know the kind of improvements that are coming through in the energy sector, slowly but surely increasing availability factors. Ministers were talking here on Saturday about those improvements. So you need to have a good functioning energy system. You need to have a good and a functioning transportation logistics system that moves bulk commodities and bulk products. And you need adequate water supply in order to make the industrial base function. So those are the constraints. And that, if is resolved, we are hoping can lift the rate of economic growth beyond the 0.3% that we are at now. This is pedestrian. I mean, it's leading us nowhere. So we need to lift that. So yeah, you need a combination of factors. Build infrastructure, provide capital, have entrepreneurs addressing their market opportunities. And indeed, the BRICS formation provides we believe, a good platform for market access. I mean, yesterday, in the agri-space, Wandile Mahlobo was commenting that, for instance, our penetration of trade into the BRICS formation as South Africa is less than 10%. So there is that headroom available for us to export products from the agri-sector, as an example, more and more to our colleagues in the BRICS formation.
Let me take advantage of this conversation and ask questions about the Black Industrial Program that you embarked upon as the IDC. How is that progressing?
Yeah, let us just remember that the Black Industrialist Program is a program that is a joint initiative between the Industrial Development Corporation as an entity and the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition. So we have, I think the numbers are, since the inception of this Black Industrialist Program, the IDC has actually extended in excess of 40 billion rand. You're talking over the past 10 years or
40
so.
billion or
40 billion rand to support businesses that one way or the other have a Black industrialist emphasis. Of course, this over the past year, our target was to advance somewhere in the region of about 4 billion rand. We didn't meet that target. We advanced just over 3 billion rand. But I think it's a function of the economy. We can only advance money where there is a demand side pull, where businesses are growing. It is only when businesses expand and they put more money into manufacturing, into their plants and modernizing their technologies, that financial flows can go into industrialists. So it is a program that is ongoing. We continue to push as much as we can, but the programs such as this need to be supported by an underlying growing economy.
And the impact on employment, have you measured that on the part of the Black industrialists that have received these loans?
Yeah, our measures of employment creation, I don't have specific figures attributable to the Black Industrialist Program. What I do have are aggregate figures over the past year. I think our employment creation numbers is just over 120,000
in the overall economy.
In the overall economy. Yeah. It's a drop in the ocean, but it's a contribution that we have to make. It's very interesting, this employment creation equation, because it is getting more and more complex in a sense that some of the businesses that we advance money to are low in terms of their employment creation factor. Let's make an example. We are advancing more and more money into the renewable energy sector. But the way those IPPs or the power stations, the renewable photovoltaic stations are configured, they are very high tech. So for an investment in the region of 12-15 billion rand, you have a very low employment creation factor at that project level. But remember, the energy sector is supposed to enable others.
So it's a case of how much power is generated,
exactly,
more than how many people are employed.
Exactly.
And then if it contributes to energy production, so you still regard it as a...
Then downstream effects where manufacturing grows and tourism grows, then that's where greater employment creation effects happen.
As we conclude, what is the success rate, going back to the Black Industrial Program, in terms of the loans that you have extended? Are they growing? Are they sustainable? Those companies?
Good question. Good question. And we did a study in 2021. We commissioned a study to look exactly into that, and it was very interesting because we were under the impression that the scheme was not working or something, lots of complications. But empirical data pointed to a different outcome. And because we are a development finance institution whose risk-taking propensity is higher, what we found was that somewhere in the region of about 80% of the clients that we have supported are sustainable, they are in production, they are trading, they are making money, they are servicing their obligations to the IDC where they have raised debt, they are returning returns where they have raised equity. So somewhere in the order of about 20% of our portfolio has all sorts of complications, you know. And it is a high complication factor and sort of a non-performing type investments. But that is the nature of our business, which is development finance. You don't expect single-digit non-performing portfolios. We expect on the high end somewhere in the region of 10-15% or so of our projects to be going through difficulties of one sort or the other. But an 80% plus performance ratio for a development finance institution, we regard it as a success performance.
TP, pleasure catching up with you.
Wonderful to see you again.
Update.
Thank you very much,
Appreciate
Tim.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you.